Hey everyone. Hey, it is time for the Cyrusher Ranger 1,000 mile review. We're just going to jump right into it. I've got a lot of stuff to cover and we're going to try to keep this as short as possible. Thanks for watching. I bought this bike early on when they were first released. There were only 2 or 3 reviews of the bike on YouTube at that time. With the battery installed, this bike weighed in at 90 pounds when I first got it. I've made some improvements that have dropped that significantly, but that's what you're looking at. I'm not sure what the claimed weight was, but I know that the 90 is heavier than what the brochure said. So I live in a very mountainous area in Colorado. I ride this bike probably 90 to 95% on dirt trails, Jeep trails, single track, just back roads, fire roads. It's usually fairly rocky, rough trails. So this bike has been very well maintained by me, but it has not been babied in any way. This is not something that I've just ridden on smooth bike paths or around parking lots. One of the first things that attracted me to this bike was just the general looks of it. I love the green color and the general stance of the bike. It's just a big, heavy, almost motorcycle looking bike. I wanted an aluminum frame bike. This is 6061 aluminum tubing, good quality stuff. I wanted a 750 52 volt hub drive motor. This is a name brand motor, so I know I can always get parts for it easily. So I wanted a bike that had a huge battery. This is a 52 volt 20 amp hour battery with a 25 amp controller. So I liked the fact that the battery is housed in the frame and the controller lives in this big bottom bracket compartment here. So I've had mountain bikes where the sides of my rims here get all nicked up just in the first few rides because the tire doesn't really protect the rim on your standard mountain bike, whereas these do. You can see that the rocks have worn away some of the lettering on the sides, and you can see where I constantly am hitting rocks here, but the tire sticks out far enough that I literally don't have a single scratch on the rims after 1,000 miles of rock riding. That's pretty impressive. So one benefit of the big fat tire bikes here is that these protect your rims very well. I'm very impressed with the wheels on this bike. I've had nothing come out of true. Everything's been, spokes are still tight. I've had no issues with these rims whatsoever. I can't say enough about these Kenda Crusade tires. These things are amazing. They have held up incredibly well. They still look great after 1,000 miles of dirt riding. One thing that I really like about them is they've got this ridge down the middle here. So when you're riding on a hard packed surface, it's actually very smooth. You don't have a whole lot of tire noise, and it rolls smoothly down that center ridge. But when you get off in the dirt, you've got good traction. These have worn incredibly well. To me, they're looking like I can probably get another 1,000 miles out of them, which is good because they're about $60, $65 a piece. So I ride this bike in very wet conditions generally. It's either raining or snowing or muddy or big water puddles, something. So the bike always seems to be a mess every time I get home. So I always just park it and hose it down and then wipe it down, and I have had zero negative effect of all this water on the electrical system. The motor's been 100% reliable. The controller is hidden down here in the bottom bracket. No sign that it has ever gotten wet in there. All the bar controls and the screen, 0 error codes, 0 problems with the electronics on this bike in the first 1,000 miles. Rear linkage here has been worked hard over the last 1,000 miles. We've got lots of little pivot points, shock points, everything. Everything is still rock solid, no play whatsoever. And I've never had any sort of squeaking or anything funny happen. The rear linkage, rear suspension has been awesome. Yeah, paint has held up beautifully. I literally don't think I have any scratches on this bike. I'm thinking even underneath here where I've been very careful not to hit any big rocks, and I don't even feel any scratches there. So when this bike comes out of the box, for me, it has way too many Cyrusher logos on it. It's got one on the swing arm, one on the seat, one on the down tube, lower forks, and steering stem, equaling 10 Cyrusher logos. Too much from a design standpoint. So Cyrusher, if you're listening to that, ease up on the logos. The air shock on this bike is worked incredibly well. Absolutely no sign of any wearing on the piston there or anything. Adjustments on the shock are great, and it works very well. No complaints whatsoever. One of the first changes I made was to put on a more mountain bike style seat rather than the big cushy e-bike seats. It's just what I'm used to, what my butt's used to. And along with that, I ended up putting in a longer seat post. This stock seat post is limited by it can only go down so far here because of all of the cast pieces here. So basically to this weld right here is what your stock seat post can go down to. So they sell it to you with a relatively short seat post. So if you're 5'10" probably or above, you're going to need to get a longer seat post. Bars themselves, I really like the bend of, just right amount of rise for me and width. No complaints whatsoever with the controls on this bike. So as you can see, the lug for the side stand is still on the swing arm, but I have taken the side stand off because just recently it just started really knocking and making a lot of noise. I think the spring finally weakened up on it a little bit. So I was getting tired of listening to that rattle on the rough trails. And now I just bring my bike in and clip it into my work stand. I swapped out for a pair of nylon pedals early on because the metal pedals that came with the bike just never felt like they were smooth. I was expecting them to loosen up over time, but they never really did. So I got these, and they've worked really well. I did upgrade my derailleur to a Dior just because these have a little bit larger spring in them right here. A little bit more positive in the pull and the shifting. I don't have any complaints with the Altus that was on there. It actually shifted beautifully. I just happen to have this Dior, and so I put it on. So the drivetrain here shows very little wear for 1,000 miles. The teeth look good. The chain's still in good shape, although I'll probably be replacing it before too long here, just as a precaution. I'm gonna open up the rear hub here and re-grease the gears in there. Also just to
confirm that everything's fine and prolong the life of the motor.
So on your top tube here, there are a couple of lugs for accessories. I made a little bracket here for a phone mount. I figured that it was just a little too high to put a bottle mount up here. Then the standover height would be a little ridiculous, but with just a low phone mount, that works nicely, and that keeps it away from the bars without cluttering up what is already a pretty full set of bars up here. So these are the forks that came on the bike. They're spring forks with a compression adjustment. Early reviews of the Ranger referred to these as air forks, but they are not air forks. So if you're doing just basic trail riding, fire roads, smooth, single track, that kind of thing, the stock forks are perfectly adequate. I put on this set of air forks. All of these modifications that I made to the bike are in other videos that I've put on YouTube. So if you subscribe and look through my videos, you can find more specifics on this. I'm just going to touch on the subjects because I'm trying to keep this relatively short. But I really like this set of air shocks. I've got about 150 miles on it as of now, and it's doing really well. Maybe almost close to 200 miles. I think I put them on right at about 800. So they've done incredibly well. They're what they call budget forks, meaning they don't cost you an arm and a leg like a set of Fox or something like that. But they work really well. They got a year warranty on them, and so far I've got nothing but praise for them. Are there some things that I think Cyrusher should do to improve the bike without raising the price? Yeah, absolutely. I think that a set of forks just like these, if not these, should be standard on the bike for the same price. These forks work beautifully. They're a direct replacement on the bike. All of these changes that I've made to the bike have essentially been my own preference versus something that is broken or something that was really lacking. I can't say that there was really anything lacking with this bike. I could have, other than seat post, I could have ridden it just the way it came out of the box and been happy with it. But I really like it now that I've made a few changes to it. So Cyrusher, if you're listening, put an actual air fork on this bike so that you've got full air suspension. I know your new Nitro is coming out with front and rear air. We'll upgrade your Ranger 2 for 2024. That would be awesome. But I've just had a great time with this bike. I've ridden it on all sorts of trails. I've also taken it on the road. If you check out some of my videos, I rode this bike to the top of the highest road in North America, which is here in Colorado, Mount Evans Road, over 14,000 feet. Huge climb. It made it beautifully. It not only did it well, it did it at 17 mile an hour average, which was just incredible. So much fun. Check out my video on the highest road in America. And yeah, it's I can't overstate how much I like this bike. So I guess a big question would be, would I buy this bike again if I had it to do over? And my answer to that is absolutely yes. I have just loved this bike. It just makes me smile every time I take it out. It is so much fun, been dead reliable, and just been a great bike. The handling on it is amazing. It's just rock solid whether you're doing 5 miles an hour or 45 miles an hour. Handling's great, doesn't matter the terrain. So I think that pretty much wraps it up. I have several other videos They go into more detail on specific things. So if you're looking for an answer to something that I mentioned in this video, go look up my other videos and you will probably get your answer. You can always message me as well. But again, hey, thanks for watching. Appreciate it.